the stage to help me conduct this interview and to share some reminiscences. Would you please welcome Diane Warren, great songwriter, Harvey Mason Jr. as well, please. And how about you, Harvey? When do you first come to grips with the Clive Davis legacy?
I grew up knowing about Clive, and similar to you, Diane, I always wanted to meet him. I'd seen his name on the bottom of every record.
Yeah.
You know, I was a big credit reader, so I said, this is the guy who makes it all happen. This is the guy I've got to meet. So I remember the first time I met Clive. I remember like it was yesterday. I drove up in his office. We listened to music. He hated one of my songs. You know, it was the greatest experience ever. And I remember leaving saying, I'm going to get back in that office. I want to impress Mr. Davis at the time. I said, that is the guy that I want to like my music. And I just remember how inspired I was when I met him, how proud I was to have been there in that office and looking at the pictures of all the amazing people that had been there before me, all the artists that he had in his stable. And it sounds bad talking about him while he's here, but that was the guy I wanted to impress. Yeah. And it still goes on today.
Yeah. You hated my song, too, the first time I met you. I went out and bought I went out and bought a really expensive sweater that I couldn't afford, so I was so bummed out.
You mean after he didn't like the song?
Yeah, after my first meeting with you.
Wow.
You know, it was like $250. I didn't have any money. But I was like,
she doesn't spread the money around very
Yeah, go ahead, Harvey.
I was going to say one of the other cool things about the whole process, and I'm not sure how many of the people in the audience know, but for me it was something I had no clue about, is the process of pitching songs. And we talked about it at our first meeting with Clive. I think one of the things that's really, really special and really, really unique about Clive, and he was talking a little bit about it, was how he goes out and searches out the talented songwriters and the best people, young people, new up-and-comers, legends like Diane, and everything in between. Clive is out there doing that. People don't really do that anymore, you know what I mean? They don't pick up the phone and say, Harvey, I'm looking for a song like this, give you a detailed description of what it is, give you some in-depth or some insight into who the artist is. And Clive has done that ever since I've known him, and that just doesn't happen. He has a special way of making records that doesn't exist anymore. You sit in the bungalow, right?
Yeah.
You play him the music. Of course, you got to have a lyric sheet, right? He's got the lyric sheet, and he's reading through the lyrics, and if it doesn't measure up, it doesn't measure up. There's no personal feelings. There's no, I really like you, so I like your song. It's none of that. It's very unique to any other system that I've worked for every system I'm sure you have as well. And one just short story, I played Clive a record for an artist he was working on, and he said, it's okay, I like it okay, it's not great, it's not a great copyright. I said, but Clive, it's going to get us on the radio. And he said, no, the lyric's not strong enough. And I pointed out 3 or 4 other songs that didn't have great lyrics, but were big radio records. And Clive said, that's great. But what I want to do and the type of records I want to make are great records, great quality records, and I don't want to use anybody else's music as a measuring stick for me or my artists. And for me, that was something you never hear, ever, in any building. And the impressive part about that is that's how Clive kind of conducts his business every day. The quality that has to be there. The bar is so high at all times, and it's totally improved my songwriting, my producing. I know it has you as well, Diane, but it's changed my perspective and my outlook on the entire music industry. And that's one of the special things about Clive, not to talk about you while you're sitting right here. It's very, very special and very unique.
You know, I wanted to ask both of you, Clive calls, he says he needs a song for X artist, whomever it is. What is the process? First Diane and then Harvey. So he tells you who the artist is, and then basically he needs a song. What do you do? What is your process?
I should go see you in the bungalow, and maybe I'll either sing it really badly.
When you talk about the bungalow, tell people what
the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Bungalow's famous.
Yeah.
It's famous. Yeah.
Clive's bungalow. It's a piano. How do you describe it?
Well, for me,
nice.
I get the call, and Clive gives me the information, and then I'll go back into the studio with whoever I'm writing with and try and come up with something that meets his criteria for what he feels would be a hit single. And that's what we're shooting for all the time. I think Clive does that with every song on the album. He doesn't really concern himself with album fillers, and again, that's very unique. Every song he's looking for is
Copyright.
a hit single.
So right? I love that you use that term, Clive.
So the process is to try and write the best song. You schedule an appointment with Clive when he comes to town, or you send it, but hopefully you get to sit with him in person, go to the bungalow, which is the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he always has the most beautiful bungalow. I'm telling all
Yeah.
your dirty laundry, Clive. He's got the cookies are laid out and the bananas.
I
and
wish they were
someone
there.
bringing grapes around. You know?
But then you
so-
get nervous and you eat all the cookies.
Oh, I eat all the grapes.
Me
And
too. I
everything.
gain
But-
weight a lot.
So you play the song, and then it goes into kind of what I spoke about. He goes through the lyrics. Sometimes he'll listen to the song 3 or 4 times before he makes his decision. Sometimes it's right off the bat. He says, turn that down, and he'll ask you a question. I love it. What is going on here? Other times he'll review it and say, you know, the bridge here could be stronger. And again, that's something that many A&R guys don't either know how to do or don't concern themselves with at this point in the industry. But Clive knows every inch of every song that comes through his office. He'll call me a day later and say, Harvey, you know, in the second bar of the bridge, I really felt the vocal could lift a little bit. Maybe we could try a different chord change here. And I'm saying, how does this guy even remember any of this? You know, I can't even remember the song myself, and I wrote it. So that's the process that I go through, and I imagine Diane goes through something similar, and that's how we interact with Clive. The other day, maybe a month ago, Clive sent me an email. It was 2 a.m., and then my phone goes off, and I look at it, and I said, this is from Clive. What is going on? And he said, I'm really excited about that song you played me the other day. I can't wait to hear it again. Come see me. I'll be back. And I was like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Clive is still talking about that darn song and the chord in the second bar of the bridge. But
See, I grew up in New York, and you're from laid-back L.A.
Well, the stories are great. The insight is even greater. On behalf of Harvey, Diane, thank you for joining us tonight. It was really a wonderful pleasure to have you guys. For sure. So, Clive, for you, if you will, not only did you present us tonight with some great stories, as I say, and some great insight, but I want to thank you on behalf of my staff. I want to thank you on behalf of the membership and especially the kids that use this room on a daily basis for your generosity, your wisdom, and all the great music that you've given us. So thank you very much. Clive Davis, give it up.